Hey guys, this is going to be a review of the Cyma CM047d Airsoft replica. First of all, some of the parts do not come on the gun, such as this assisted mag release, the flared magazine well, this railed lower handguard, and this foregrip. You'll notice that the flash hider is blue, that's because certain parts of the gun were painted blue, but obviously the paint has been removed apart from the flash hider. First of all, steel components are the plate on the back of the stock, the rear sling point, the dust cover, the selector switch, the trigger guard / mag release, the outer barrel, and that's mostly it. The other parts that are made out of metal would be the lower receiver, the trigger, the bolt, the kind of front assembly, the the rear sight, the gas tube, as well as the flash hider. The rest of the parts on the gun are plastic, which are the body of the stock, the pistol grip, the lower and upper handguards. As I said, this is not the original handguard. This is the original handguard, which again is blue. As you can see, it's got quite contouring lines for you to grip onto, which is quite comfortable. And it is quite strong, thick plastic, however I wanted to have the foregrip as well as being able to attach lights. To fold the stock, you have to fold the gun over to the left hand side, and there's quite a large button which you push, and it folds in, and then you kind of click it down. As you can see, it's not moving anywhere. I can pick it up by the stock. To release it, click this button here, and the stock is released. Moving on to this left hand side of the gun. Don't lean aside your gun on that side because it can damage the charging handle, but there is a side rail point for the attachment of scope rails, as well as the clip for the stock to clip into. Obviously the stock release button, as well as there's another sling point up at the front. There's also a fake cleaning rod, which in here is a little bit noisy, and it also doesn't function. It's only about this long. Unfortunately, when you have a side rail attached on this side, you cannot completely fold the stock, and it stops about here, meaning you can't obviously completely compact it, which is a little bit annoying if you want to have a side rail scope on top. Overall, the external construction of this gun is very nice. It's quite a lot of metal components, and the plastics that are there are quite good quality. Regarding to the internals of the gun, my gun fired at approximately 360 FPS, which is just about 10 feet per second higher than the limit for most sites in the UK for automatic guns, which is a shame, but I had to change the spring as well as some other components from the inside of the gun. There is a 39cm or 390mm brass inner barrel with a plastic hop-up unit, which proceeds to the outside of the gun if you remove this flash hider. First of all, to remove the flash hider is a little bit weird. First of all, you have to, there's a little pin you'd have to hold in here, so that it clips on there. You need to first release the top half, to reveal the threads. These are obviously the wrong threads. Then there is a small Allen screw just here, which you will need to undo, and then you can undo the rest of the thread in a clockwise motion, pull it off, and then you can see the 14mm counterclockwise threads. You can see that on the body there are a few scratches from I've been using the fire selector, and there are also markings for full auto and semi-automatic, full auto being in the middle and semi-automatic being at the bottom. This is the old Tokyo Mirror design of construction. As you can see, there are 4 screws in the mag well, and you'd undo those 4 screws, and then you can more or less just pull off the front end. If I remove the dust cover, which you can do by just pressing in the big button at the back, pulling up on it, you'll notice that I do have a MOSFET installed, as well as a small fuse. This obviously does not come stock with the gun. Normally you will have Tamiya connectors and a fuse which sits just in here. Now the problem I have with that is after I've done some modification to the inside of the gun, I put in high speed gears and a better piston. The fuse obviously sits just here, and when the fuse was sitting here it wouldn't fire properly. It kind of constricted how much the gun could shoot. When you didn't have any magazine, when you didn't have the magazine and no pellets, it would fire fine. But as soon as you inserted a magazine, it would start acting as if the battery didn't have enough power. So you'd pull the trigger and it'd wind up and then not release. And eventually I managed to find out the problem was with the fuse, which took, unfortunately, I didn't realise in time, I took the entire gun apart again. And then realised that it was in fact the fuse that was the issue. And it was a little bit troublesome. So if you do have that problem, bearing in mind it might be the fuse. This gun is obviously white at the top, and you can stick the battery, which was included, which is an 8.4 volt 1100 milliamp NIM battery. As you can see, you should be able to stick it all the way down. You could easily get a 9.6, which would only be a little bit longer. You could maybe even get 12.8 volt NIM battery down there, although that might be a little bit too much. I'm using one of these, which is a 7.4 volt 1300 milliamp 25C LiPo battery, which simply does the same. Fits down there, plugs in, and works quite well. Personally, I would recommend using LiPo batteries with this gun, as nickel metal hydride batteries are not very good in any gun, and especially if you've upgraded any of the parts, you would definitely not want to be using a NIM battery. Looking at the internals, we can see that the gun has a set of 3 steel gears, which are quite good quality. A not very good quality plastic kind of moulded spring guide without a bearing on the bottom. It simply had a little metal disc. The tappet plate, which is quite good quality. It's got a little bit of bend to it, so it's not too brittle. And it seems to be better than some others I've handled. Then we have the piston. This is not the original piston that was in the gun, but this is one of the exact same ones. It has one steel tooth, quite a nice ported piston head, which is quite a nice piston head. However, it's not very easy to get off, as if you look inside, there's a little metal block that acts as a nut, and to unscrew that you need a massive kind of square key to stop that from moving. And then you can take off the piston head, which unfortunately I don't have, so I can't use these piston heads, but they are quite nice to have. 6 ports in them, and they're slightly contoured. You can see the middle is lower down than the edges, and it is quite nice. Then we have the motor, which, as you can see, has a date on the side. This one is the 25th of June 2014, and this motor is obviously something a bit new. I haven't really used it, but it's got a little bit of torque to it. It's not the easiest obviously to turn. It's not a high torque motor or anything, but it's got a little bit of strength to it. In comparison, here we have an APS motor. As you can see, it's quite a bit easier for me to just turn the top compared to the Cyma motor. But then it's not quite as strong as something like an ICS Turbo 3000 motor. I've changed a load of the parts in the gun, including a 14 steel tooth piston, a Element max speed motor, some 13:1 gears, a battle axe tappet plate, as well as a few other small pieces. We're doing a shooting test of the Cyma CM047d. As you can see, I've attached a side barrel mount and a ACOG style scope, as well as I've put my APS flashlight on. I forgot to mention that the gun comes with a 500 round high capacity magazine, which is this one here. As you can see, it doesn't normally come with the little fake mag ball thing, and obviously it doesn't have tape on it. This is loaded up with 0.32 gram BBs for a access, and this Cyma mid-cap magazine is loaded up with 100 kilo 9.25 gram BBs. And we're going to see the accuracy comparison between 0.25s and 0.32s. The accuracy test is going to be at approximately 20 meters, which is roughly 60 feet. First of all, this is a stud that had 2 5s. As you can see, there's a little grouping down here and a little bit of a grouping up here. I was shooting from standing and it was 20 meters away with a scope that wasn't well zeroed and a hop up that was adjusted pretty quickly. So all in all, it's not too bad. Some of it was also full auto. I think this down here was full auto. Let's have a look at the one for 3.2s. As you can see, with 3.2s is quite distinguishably better. Most of the grouping is up here in the top left hand corner, so it's about the size of my palm, and there's another small grouping down here. For some reason the high cap didn't feed properly on full auto, which is why the full auto was a bit skittish, which is a little bit annoying, but it's alright. As you can see, there are a couple that went up in the top here as well. But all in all, you can see the 3.2s were definitely more consistent with that accuracy. Quickly, we're going to do a chrono test. To do this, I have the X-Cortec unit right here, attached to the long tracer on the end of the gun, and let's see what it shoots at. 324, 326, 324, 323, 328, 327, 329. Right guys, so to finish off the video, I'm going to be going over a few of the parts I added to the gun to make it look like this. First of all, we have Cyma 150 round mid-capacity magazines with a green Acm mag pull on the bottom. Then we have an Acm Assisted Mag Release, as you can see here, which you install through using 2 screws here and 1 here to adjust kind of the tightness. I had to remove that screw, otherwise it wouldn't let me put in the mag, well, it wouldn't let me take them out again. However, I would quite recommend this as it extends the length of the actual mag release. If you look, there's this little plastic bit here, which extends it probably another ½ centimetre. It also allows you to, you can see where my fingers are, you can push the mag release using your trigger finger. So you could potentially push it and shake a bit and knock out the magazine, which will allow you to potentially reload pretty quickly. Another thing I've added is the Apse flared magazine well. This doesn't necessarily add much functionality to the gun. It's simply cosmetic, and it is attached through the 4 screws that attach on the trigger guard. Another thing I have added is a Cyma side rail mount, as you can see here. You simply have to adjust the screw on the bottom to get it to it's quite tight, and then you can undo this so it's sitting back here, slide it on from the back and then tighten this bar so it sits at the front like this. I then also added a little Reflex Sight. This is probably not the sight I'm going to be using on the gun, but I haven't decided yet. And then also I have the mount for a sight protector. The little lens doesn't mount at the moment, but that is where I'd have a sight protector. Going towards the front of the gun, I have added a Cyma lower railed handguard, so I can attach lights on the side as well as a angled fork on the bottom. I cannot remember the make of this. It was from Taiwan gun. It cost around £6, and it's similar to a normal angled foregrip, but it's a lot bigger, which I quite like. It looks quite nice on this, and it also looks quite nice on my APS UAR. Lastly, I have an APS UAR flash hider, simply because I like the look of it a little bit more. It fits better with the kind of tactical look I've made on the AK. It fits better than the standard AK flash hider. It's also a little bit shorter. Additionally, the APS UAR flash hider allows me to unscrew this little bit at the end, allowing me to have counterclockwise threads so I could attach a trace onto the end. However, as you can see, there's a little crack there because it is plastic and it did break. That's how I managed to do the chronograph test, which I will now explain as I mentioned earlier on in the video that I changed the spring. I actually didn't. The spring is still the stock spring, and that was using 0.25 gram BBs, so it was shooting at 325 using 2.5s, which sounds a little bit hot, but for some reason the X-Tech chronograph overestimates the FPS by approximately 15, as I've seen, because it reads 325, and on a actual chronograph it read about 310. Additionally, when I chronoed my APS UAR, it read at 360, and when chronographing at a site it read 345, so it seems to be that the X-Tech chrono overestimates by approximately 15, which isn't too bad. You just need to know that it does. Anyway, thank you for watching my review and shooting test of the Cyma CM047d Airsoft AK replica.